Chapter 15. The Journey of Giving Back and Fighting Modern-Day Slavery. You be the change that you want to see in the world. Gandhi. My motto is, do more, give more. You probably picked this book up thinking it was going to be all about self-development. Well, I wanted to throw in a plot twist, because it's something I believe that is important to shaping the lives of the next generation. I am passionate about this subject, and now that I'm raising my own child, it's even more of a priority for me. I began thinking while I was on one of my early morning walks at the gym, how can I make a difference in the world with my book? So, thank you for sticking around until the end to become educated and learn how together we can do our part to make a difference. I first learned of human trafficking and sex trafficking from my friend Andrea, co-founder of One by One Project. She had been in the Philippines and was back in the United States. A child that she was close to became a victim to sexual exploitation. She began doing research, discovered that it was also a problem in the United States, even the Midwest where we grew up. Her heart was stirred to do something in her own community. We met up to catch up, and I was in disbelief of what she was telling me. She asked if I wanted to be on her board because of my financial background. During this time, my heart was also being stirred to do something to make a difference. I had volunteered at local nonprofits with the volunteer program I had at work, but wanted to go beyond that to make a difference. So the timing was perfect for both of us, and a few months, short months later, the 501c3 was approved. At that time, from what we heard, it was difficult to gain approval. It was a blessing and also time to get to work. At the time, I worked at a restaurant part-time, so they would donate a percentage of the proceeds back to patrons that presented the partnership flyer when dining. It was a great way to start raising awareness and introducing people to the cause. But when we raised just $20, we decided we needed to regroup and think about ideas for our next awareness event and fundraiser. Educating myself on sex trafficking was one of the best things I could ever have done. It made me a more educated person and well-equipped to identify and help someone close to me. She was being manipulated into selling herself for another couple's benefit. This example brought to a level that I had not even thought of. You don't have to come from a broken home to be at risk. You don't have to be on the streets to be at risk, and it can happen anywhere, anytime, to anyone. No limit on where it exists. I realized I was living under a rock, and this was a topic that I needed to educate others on. My social circles were not seeing what could happen. They were like me and numb to it. So I made it my personal mission to do more, give more. By giving my time to do presentations, get involved, and make a difference, I would go to networking events to share information, speak at local organizations and church groups. I became an abolitionist in the community, empowering others to take the stance towards this injustice. As an avid volleyball player, I played and saw many tournaments at Volleyball Beach, a local sand volleyball facility for leagues. Yes, we do have sand volleyball in the Midwest. I had been playing there for many years, and we decided it was worth a shot to organize our first annual spike trafficking volleyball tournament. With a social media group of fellow volleyball players and the old school idea of handing out flyers to invite teams to the tournament, we were on our way to a successful awareness and fundraising event. This year, we hosted our 5th spike trafficking tournament. We have raffle drawings, king and queen contests, even a volleyball serve contest for prizes. We award the winning teams in each division all a champion t-shirt. Before tournaments begin, we take the time to educate the audience about trafficking and give them important information to empower them to stand against this horrific injustice. At One by One Project, we work well together in different aspects of the organization based on our interests and talents. For example, I enjoy networking and marketing and help the organization in that way. We do awareness presentations at churches, businesses, and schools, and other groups. These presentations educate on the signs of trafficking, what to do if a victim is trafficked and identified, and how to get involved in taking action against it. When the organization started, it was a shock to most to learn of this heinous crime was happening locally. Today, most are aware, but learn how it can happen to those that they are close to. Victims can be from any background, any sex, ethnicity, social status, and age. Traffickers look for easy targets, so vulnerability comes into play. That's where I believe we can make a difference. The basics. First and foremost, I believe it is important to understand the basics of human trafficking. Under federal law, sex trafficking is the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, obtaining, patronizing, soliciting, of a person for the purposes of a commercial sex act in which the commercial sex act is induced force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such an act has not obtained 18 years of age. It is estimated that there are 29.8 million women and children around the world that are victims of human trafficking, according to Global Slavery Index 2013. That is more people today than any other time in history. Although other art history books tell us that slavery ended, this injustice is never truly defeated. It is adapted to the changing times. Slavery comes in many forms. Today it is known as human trafficking. Types of sex trafficking and exploitation include street prostitution, escort service, pornography, strip clubs, massage parlors, survival sex, private parties, in quotations, gang-based prostitution, cyber marketing, social media ads, such as social media ads. Truck stops, just to name a few examples. The misconception of prostitutes. The misconception is they're called prostitutes. Reality is they're prostituted women. They are victims. Based on the study on sexual assault, 79% of women gave an indication that they were in prostitution due to some degree of force, such as kidnapping or violence by a pimp. This is from Hughes, DM, spring 2003. From Demand, the Driving Force of Sex Trafficking, Coalition Commentary, Illinois Coalition Against Sexual Assault. The next misconception is prostitution is just another job. Reality, people in prostitution face a workplace homicide rate 51 times higher than the next most dangerous job for women, which is working in a liquor store. These sources are also indicated in the copy of Love Life, Be Life, Share Life. The effect of pornography. Porn drives demand for trafficking. It creates the appetite. It drives people to the place where they become comfortable with commercial sex. Of course, not all porn consumers endorse human trafficking, but their actions, they do endorse the objectification of women and commodifying of sex. This is from Knoll of Pure Hope. Sex sells, estimated at $97 billion industry, 4.21 million websites, estimated 100,000 websites offering illegal child pornography. 1 in 5 pornographic images is of a child. 68 million search engine requests daily, 2.5 billion emails daily, 42.7% of internet users who view porn. Who are the victims of domestic minor sex trafficking? They are any youth. Any youth can be a victim. Youth of any ethnicity, race, or religion. Youth of any social economic class. Male, female, transgender youth. Youth of all ages, including teenagers. Average age of a sex trafficked victim is, for a female, 13 years old. Male or transgender is 11 years old. But traffickers tend to prey on the weak and vulnerable. 60% of all commercial sexual exploitation of children are from the foster care system. This is from the AWARE training in October 2013. As many as 2.8 million children live on the streets, according to the National Runaway Switchboard. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, data shows that 100,000 to 293,000 children have become sexual commodities. Nationally, 450,000 children run away from home each year. 1 out of every 3 teens on the street will be lured into prostitution within 48 hours of leaving home. Statistics say that at least 150,000 children lured into prostitution each year. The National Incidence Studies of Missing, Abducted, Runaway, and Throwaway Children. 1% of these victims will be rescued. And in the time it took you to read this, 3 children were sold into the sex trade. Who are the traffickers? They can be a pimp, a boyfriend, father, mother, brother, uncle, coach, teacher, anyone exerting control over a minor or a peer. Not always are organized criminals. Both men and women of varying ages, any ethnicity or race. Anyone who benefits from the commercial sexual exploitation of minors in facilities and the commercial sexual exploitation of a minor. Some characteristics of a predator. Views being nice as a weakness. Constantly seeks criminal opportunities. Overconfident. Tries to beat the system. Illusion of conformity. Example, the movie Trust. Who are the buyers? They are the individuals who are the recipients of the sexual services paid for by monetary or non-monetary means. It can be all ages, ethnicities, social and economic backgrounds, and are equally responsible for the crime of domestic minor sexual trafficking despite their lack of intent or knowledge of age or victim status. Trafficking happens all across the world and in any community, so educate yourself on your local statistics. For Missouri and Kansas City, from the 2006 Shared Hope International study in 10 cities to determine the scope of a national problem of domestic minor sex trafficking. Kansas City was ranked 2 of the 10 cities. It is estimated that 4,000 children fall victim to commercial sexual exploitation each year in Missouri. 1,700 of these children are victimized in the KC metro area alone. Olathe has the fastest growing youth population of homeless youth population in the city, according to the Olathe Police Department and Kids TLC. The Kansas City Star reported that 2009 sting operation in Kansas City, baited with internet decoy ads offering young girls for sex, produced more than 500 calls in the first 24-hour period. Initial recruiting behavior. Pimps manipulate their victims with a period of false love and affection. This is critical for long-term control. It can also include warmth, gifts, compliments, sexual and physical intimacy, elaborate promises of a better life, fast money, and future luxuries. Purposeful and premeditated targeting of vulnerability, runaways, throwaways, purposeful targeting of minors due to virginity, youthful presentation. Ongoing search for victims. Pimps are known to engage in constant recruiting to attempt to entice women and children in their web of control. Common recruiting locations include junior and high and high schools, courtrooms, halls of court buildings, foster homes, bus stations, group homes, homeless shelters, halfway houses, residences, restaurants and bars, parks and playgrounds. Why don't victims seek help? Captivity, confinement, isolation. Victims have been locked in rooms and trunks and cars, isolated from friends and family, use of threat and violence. They've been beaten, raped, tortured, assaulted, threatened with weapons. Fear, shame, self-blame, hopelessness. Been traumatized, they blame themselves for the abuse and they see no way out of the situation. Dependency. They become physically, financially, emotionally dependent on the trafficker. They have been bonded with the abuser through traumatic bonding. Distrust of law enforcement. Victims are told law enforcement will arrest and harm them. Debt bondage. Victims are trapped in a never-ending cycle of fabricated debt, and they're also made to believe they cannot leave until this debt is paid off. Misinformation and false promises. They're promised love, money, safety, and other desires if they stay with the pimp. Lack of knowledge in social systems. Victims don't know how and where to seek help. This was from Understanding Victims' Mindset from the Polars Project in 2006. 46% of victims know the person trafficking them. Victims have been tricked, lied, threatened, assaulted, raped, and confined. The term victim does not mean that a person who has suffered these crimes were incapable or helpless, and in many cases, the victims have known tremendous strength in the face of adversity. Every year, traffickers generate millions of dollars by victimizing millions of people. It is estimated that the trafficking industry brings $32 million a year. The price of a slave today is equivalent to the price of a pair of designer jeans, $90. It's the fastest growing criminal industry in the world. In order to combat human trafficking, one must understand what the injustice is and what actions to take. One by One project does not encourage people to take matters into their own hands. Rather, we want to teach you that you can help if and when you spot a victim. Because our minds are not programmed to recognize a trafficked victim, it can take us by surprise and sometimes even terrify us when we know someone is in danger. In order to recognize a victim, you must know what to look for. Notice, not all the red flags listed below are present in every situation, and the presence or absence of any of the red flags is not necessarily proof of human trafficking. Possible red flags of a potential human trafficking victim. History of emotional, sexual, or physical abuse. History of running away or current status as a runaway or a couch surfer. Someone going from one person's couch to another to sleep over. Inexplicable appearance of expensive gifts, clothing, and other costly items. Presence of an older boy or girlfriend. Drug addiction. Withdrawal or lack of interest in previous activities. Gang involvement, especially among girls. Employers holding identity documents. Unpaid or paid very little. Signs of branding, tattoo, or jewelry. Questions to consider. Does the person appear disconnected from the family, friends, organizations, or houses of worship? Has a child stopped attending school? Has the person had a sudden or dramatic change in behavior? Is a juvenile engaged in commercial sex acts? Is a person disoriented or confused or showing signs of mental or physical abuse? Does the person have bruises in various stages of healing? Is a person fearful, timid, or submissive? Does a person show signs of being denied food, water, sleep, or medical care? Is a person often in the company of someone to whom he or she defers, or someone who seems to be in control of the situation where they go or who they talk to? Does the person appear to be coached on what they say? Is the person living in unsuitable conditions? Does the person lack personal possessions and appear not to be having a stable living situation? Does the person have freedom of movement? Can the person freely leave where they live, or are there unreasonable security measures? Ways to take action. Report a tip. If you believe you have identified someone in a human trafficking situation or someone comes to you saying they are a victim, alert law enforcement immediately. Emergency situations, call 911 immediately. Tell them you are a victim of human trafficking, you have a human trafficking victim with you, or you have spotted a human trafficking situation. Non-emergency situations, call the police or FBI. To report a tip or potential victim, do not attempt to extract or rescue the victim yourself. You do not know if the tracker will retaliate against the victim or you. One by One project information. The mission statement. One by One project is empowering communities through awareness to end sex trafficking and giving adult and minor victims hope of a new life through providing specialized services. It's a grassroots organization. One by One is a grassroots organization that was created in 2010 with the simple vision that fits on a single piece of paper. 1 year later, One by One project was officially incorporated in the state of Missouri, and by 2012 received the 501c3 charitable organization status and started running awareness programs. Today we are on an all volunteer basis running awareness, education, and outpatient service programs. Living and breathing values. Built to last, serve with purpose, collaborate for success, empower to create change, to do the right thing. Our desire is to educate people in a way that is not only allows them to understand the injustice of trafficking, but also empowers them to take action and helps us combat sex trafficking in our city. Through our events, we educate thousands of people each year in Kansas City. Not only are these individuals taking time to become educated on the issue, they're volunteering their time to raise awareness among their peers and in the spheres of influence. This brings prevention and extraction to those in need. As important as awareness is, our end goal is to see victims given hope of a new life, a second chance. Currently, we are offering outpatient services to victims who are referred to us, who meet on outreach, or who come to us on their own. These outpatient services are anything from teaching basic life skills to budgeting to finances to helping with job training skills. We do not want to replicate any existing programs that are already working in the city. We want to meet a need that does not already exist. There's one reason we have partnered with local organizations. Together, we believe in empowering victims of sex trafficking through healing and recovery process. The Holistic Restoration Program focuses on healing survivors from the indignities they have suffered by providing physical needs, trauma, and addiction therapy, as well as education and job skill training. Together, we seek to provide a house of restoration for survivors as they heal, provide the resources they need to recover and live fulfilling lives. How can you get involved? Learn the red flags that can help identify potential victims. Be a conscientious consumer. Download the www.freetowork.org app on your phone and learn how your purchases can affect human trafficking. Set your homepage to receive news, Google alerts on human trafficking. Get involved with the legislation process. Check out change.org and keep it updated with petitions for legislation on human trafficking. Meet with and write to your local, state, federal government representatives. Let them know you care about combating human trafficking in your community and to ask what they're doing to address human trafficking in your area. Number 5, donate funds or organize a fundraiser and donate proceeds to One by One project. Number 6, host a clothing or a hygiene drive to benefit victims of human trafficking. Number 7, shop and give back through programs on Amazon Smile, eBay, Charity Choice. Number 8, volunteer your time and skills. How your company can get involved. Number 1, join a street outreach program to pass out hygiene bags. Host a fundraising event on behalf of One by One Project. Number 3, offer any professional skills you have that could benefit One by One events, marketing, and administrative departments. Number 4, help promote One by One and its programs. Number 5, host a clothing or hygiene drive to benefit victims of human trafficking. Number 6, be an event sponsor. Number 7, become a corporate sponsor for the year. Number 8, host casual for the cause at your workplace. Number 9, volunteer your time and skills. Number 10, law enforcement officials can join or start a local human trafficking task force. Number 11, mental health or medical providers extend lower cost or free service to human trafficking victims assisted by nearby anti-trafficking organizations. Train your staff on how to identify the indicators of human trafficking and assist victims. Number 12, look for signs of human trafficking among your clients. Offer pro bono services to trafficking victims and anti-trafficking organizations. Learn about and offer human trafficking victims the legal benefits to which they are eligible. Assist anti-trafficking NGOs with capacity building and legal work. Source, U.S. Department of State. And the book, The Slave Across the Street, the true story of how an American teen survived the world of human trafficking. The daughter was victim to sex trafficking for many years and her parents never knew. She kept good grades, was involved in activities, and kept her normal identity to protect her family from the threats of her predators. From a very young age, children need to be protected, loved, and told they matter. Learning to build confidence is important, just as much as any subject in school. In the ever so changing world of technology, the lives of children are becoming more vulnerable to predators. Online, the predators can pretend to be other children or sometimes someone they are not, to lure children into meeting them. In our network of contacts, there have been instances where school-age children were being lured by predators to meet in the coming days, but an awareness or prevention presentation halted that what-if situation from happening. These are often good children coming from loving families, where I hear the parents say, "Oh, that's not my child." I try to educate them on the possibility that it could be their children and how serious it can be. I believe that the more we can pour love and greatness into our youth, the more we will impact their lives. Our society can cause youth to feel that they are not important or not enough. I believe that instilling principles that I have mentioned in this book into our youth will help them grow with more self-confidence, great self-worth, and believing they are enough. It's not about being arrogant or better than others. I know often youth try to model what they see and hear from their peers and adults. It brings me joy to see youth modeling behaviors that exhibit a strong character. We live in a diverse world, but the basics are the same for all cultures and backgrounds. Love is a universal language, an expression that can make a difference in a person's life. Most importantly, teaching self-love to youth. It is important to have self-love no matter what their relationships with family, friends, or others. They love themselves first. Love yourself first because that's who you'll be spending the rest of your life with. They can build a healthy relationship with others from that self-love. I believe these qualities and characteristics make a difference in the lives of youth and can even decrease the number of domestic minor sex trafficking victims. In my opinion, less vulnerable youth equals less domestic minor sex trafficking victims. I want to share a story from you. It's called The Starfish Story, adapted from The Star Thrower by Lauren Isley. An old man was walking along the beach when he noticed a boy picking something up and gently throwing it into the ocean. Approaching the boy, he said, "What are you doing?" The boy replied, "Throwing starfish back into the ocean. The surf is up and the tide is going out. You don't throw them back, they will die." "Son," the man replied, "don't you realize there are miles and miles of beach and hundreds of starfish? You can't make a difference." After listening politely, the boy bent down, picked up another starfish, and threw it back into the surf. Then, smiling at the man, he said, "I made a difference to that one." I beg you to be realistic and not live under a rock. Educate yourself and be aware of the signs. Know how to get help and don't be afraid to report it. Often I come into contact with people that are afraid and not sure if they are right. I always say, trust your gut. If something doesn't seem right, or it seems too good to be true, it probably is. I would rather report something that ended not being a case than not to report something that could have saved someone's life in danger. Maybe the only person that could make a difference for that victim at that moment. Give those being enslaved a voice in the community and stand against it so it doesn't happen. Here's another quote for you. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead. Learn how to follow One by One Project online and on social media. Website is www.onebyOneproject.org, ONEBYONE project.org. Facebook, facebook.com/ONEBYONE project. Instagram, /ONEBYONE project. Donations can be mailed to One by One Project, Attention Share Life Book, 1503 Main Street, number 214, Grandview, Missouri 64030.